Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I want to talk about a pen that has made some, waves through the pen industry in the last little while. It is this. This is the UniBall Zento, and what I have here is the sort of standard version. There's a bunch of different versions available. This is the standard. This is like their, sort of, I suppose this and the basic, which I have here, are basically their sort of go-to everyday versions of it. The signature version, which is the capped magnetic cap version, has sort of blown up, and getting that is almost impossible. So I've been using these standards, and I've actually also been using the refill from this in my still form pen here. So I've got one in there. I've been absolutely loving it. This is a great pen body. I'll link to the original review of this, but the refill fits just in here, and it's been an absolute joy. I also adapted the refill to fit my Lamy 2000 rollerball, which I carried for a while, and that was fantastic. So today I don't necessarily want to talk about the pen body. Like, it's a fairly standard sort of pen body. It's not that different to the UniBall 1, which I have here. You can see there's like I think it's an upgrade of the pen body. The grip section, the rubberized grip section, runs higher up on the pen, and some nice sort of rounded corners, things like that. So I don't want to necessarily talk about the pen body today. There are tons of videos about this and about the different versions of it. I want to focus on the refill, because for me, when you get a rollerball, gel pen, whatever format you want to use, it is actually the refill that is the most important thing for me. And I often, as I've said on this channel a number of times, will take the refill from a pen like this, or just buy the Zento refill and put it in other pens like I've done with this one. So, we're going to talk about primarily the refill and how it writes today. So to do that, here is my notebook of optic paper from, and this is in an Oxford brand notebook. I've done some writing. So I have a 0.38, a 0.5, and the 0.7, and I've written with all of them, and I've written with the 0.5 alongside the 0.5 UniBall 1 as well. Now, the 1 has been an incredibly successful refill over a number of years, and the Zento is only recently released. It's a new ink formulation. And for me, I actually think it's a nicer feeling refill. I think it writes nicer, but I don't think it writes as dark as the UniBall 1. There are pens that definitely write darker than the Zento. So these were all bought from Jet Pens, where, for instance, I'll cover this in a bit more detail, but the standard refill, the standard pen, this guy here, retails for $3.15 US, and that signature version, which everyone's trying to get their hands on. And when I get one, I will do a review of that pen model. I think it's fantastic. That retails for $27.50 US. But we're talking about the refills and how they write. So the 3.8 is very sharp. It's got a nice, I've got it here in the basic version. You can see 0.38 there. It's a nice refill. It writes smooth, but it is very, crisp, if you will. 0.38. I like it. I don't use a lot of 0.38s. I tend to write, if I'm writing with a rollerball or a gel pen or something like that, I will tend to write with a sort of a 0.5 or 0.7, primarily a 0.7. So this is very sharp, but it writes well and writes incredibly consistently. Then we have the 0.5, which I have in the standard here. And that also writes very smooth. It's consistent and it's reliable. I really liked it. I really like writing with the refills, but the refill I have written with most is the 0.7 refill, which I've actually put into this canary yellow body just to carry for work. It'll stand out. So it was a body that came with a 0.5. I just put a 0.7 refill in it. And so we have here the UniBall Zento 07. That should just be 0.7, not 0507. This is, for me, an absolute corker of a refill. I think it writes beautifully. That extra ink on the page does make it write a little darker, and it's very, very smooth. It's consistent. I've never had an issue with it. Unlike some other sort of gel or rollable refills that can sort of like, you get like little railroad stuff like that. I've never had an issue with this. In fact, I put this exact refill through a stress test where I power wrote a whole A4 page here, scribbles, words, letters, random, whatever. And at the start of the page to the bottom of the page, it is completely consistent line, depth of color, saturation, all of that. This is a really impressive refill. Is it the darkest refill? We're about to look at it in comparison with some others. I don't think it is. I certainly have used blacker that I prefer, but I love how this one actually writes on the page. A couple of things I will sort of say is that, particularly with the 7, I haven't found this with the 0.5 or the 0.3, is that you do get these like chunky globs at the start of some of the strokes. And that is common on some sort of gel pens and things like that and rollerballs. It's not my favorite feature. I do prefer a more consistent line. But where this refill really stands out is in the reliability and the smoothness of the refill and the ball on the page itself. So here is a comparison with a few other gel roller sort of style pens. So the UniBall one there at the top in the 0.5, you can see that is a super rich black in comparison to the UniBall Zento 7 there. It is noticeably darker. Now, it may be that the refills I have in particular are performing this way and your mileage may vary, but I can only review what I have in my hand. Below this is the UniBall Gel Impact, which is a 1mm ball, and that is darker still, but it's also a glossier sort of refill. The Pentel Energel 07, UniBall Signature 0.7, Uni Jetstream 0.7, they're all perfectly fine, different sort of writing pigments and inks and formulations, but they're all sort of solid blacks. Uni Jetstream is probably the lightest of those, of course. Then the Retro 51 is a super rich dark refill, but also doesn't perform well on a whole lot of paper. I haven't had a problem with this. It doesn't matter what paper I write on. This refill has been able to sort of perform well with very, very little bleed and absolutely no feather. It's a really good refill like that. The Lamy Rollerball refill there and then Zebra Sarasa 0.5 are both quite nice and dark, and certainly darker there than the UniBall Zento refill. Okay, these are my thoughts on the refill here from the UniBall Zento. Firstly, I think it's a well-priced pen. You can buy the refills and they are also well-priced. But as I said, the standard here, the standard Zento pen runs $315 US, which is pushing it in the Australian market up to like around the $550 sort of mark, which is expensive for a single roller gel pen. So this is described as a gel or water-based pigment ink roller. And I said the Signature is $27.50 US, which is over 50 Australian. So that is quite expensive for a mass-produced sort of pen like this. But it's that Signature pen model is fantastic. And as I said, as soon as I can get my hands on one, I'll do a review of that as well. It's a nice black. It's not the blackest black, but it is a nice black. I think it looks good on the page, great page contrast, all that kind of thing. I honestly think the 0.38 and the 0.5 do not compete with the 0.7. They're perfectly fine, but those smaller balls on the page do make it a less pleasurable writing experience. Now, obviously, if you need to write with a 0.3 or a 0.5, depending on what you're writing on, if that is your preference, your size of handwriting that, this is going to be a perfectly fine refill and you'll be more used to writing with a sharper feeling on the page. For me, I like the smoothness of the 0.7. So the 0.7 is fantastic. It's smooth and reliable. I think they have nice pen models, and I definitely think it's an upgrade from the UniBall 1. There's a little bit more sort of sturdiness to it. It's a little bit heavier perhaps, and having the rubberized grip sort of end just after the grip section is okay. Like that's the only bit you're sort of holding, but having it run up the pen, I don't know, it sort of feels like you've just got a better grip on the pen. For me, it feels slightly nicer in the hand. Also, I think the rounded shoulders around the nock are nice. It uses the same clip and same mechanism, all that kind of stuff. It's got the same profile. It's unmistakably Uni, but I think it's those little touches make it a nice little upgrade. I'll come back to this point, but I want to talk the UniBall Zento Signature. As I said, that pen body, it's a metal body, magnetic cap that posts on the back. It looks really sharp, and it has blown up. You cannot get it anywhere. Every time I see a review of it, I'm jealous that person has that pen in their hands. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on one, and as soon as it is available, I will be. Now, my final thought here, is the refill better than the one? In my feeling, they are very, very comparable in terms of feel on the page. Now, if we go 0.5 to 0.5 here, you know, the Zento, it's got a nice crisp sharpness. The one, it's maybe not quite as smooth. So where the Zento wins out on smoothness, I think the one wins out in terms of the quality of the sharpness of the black on the page. You know, they're both perfectly fine. The Zento has a decent dry time, so by 30 seconds it's dry. After 5 and 10 it's still a little bit smudgy. But both of these refills are, you know, perfectly fine once they're dry. There's no smudging, anything like that. So, you know, when it comes down to the aesthetic of the ink on the page, the one wins. When it comes to smoothness of writing on the page, the Zento wins. So is it better? Is it worth the upgrade? That's totally up to you. If you prefer a black, I would still go the one. If you want something that's just going to have a really beautiful, pleasant writing experience, check out the UniBall Zento in all its multitudes of forms. As I said, 0.3, 8.5, 0.7, and also like, you know, there's different pen bodies from the basic through the standard and right up to the signature. I think there might be 4 or 5 pen models in all at the moment, and I'm sure it'll be taken on into other pen bodies as well. It's a good refill. So that was the UniBall Zento refill. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that kind of stuff. I'd love to know your thoughts on the Zento refill and what your favorite roller, gel, ballpoint refills are, all that kind of stuff. As much as I'm a fountain pen guy, I'm not a pen snob, and I love using any good writing instrument. So at the moment, I'm really enjoying these. So thank you for watching. Enjoy your pens, and I'll talk to you soon.